I'm going to begin with a slight correction to my previous video. It's minor, but I think significant. If you haven't seen it, it's called Shakespeare's Sonnet Number Code, the italicized words, and it's the third video in a series I'm doing on codes and encryptions found in the sonnets. The last few words, hues, audit, and rose, should be translated with audit being a and udit, udit being the Sanskrit word for ascending. I gave this as one of the definitions, but didn't follow it through to conclusion. In context with the preceding words, it reads, the arrangement between De Vere, Rich, and Rosely hews a ascending rose. This refers to Henry de Vere's future ascension to earldom as the 18th Earl of Oxford, though he's a Rosely. Okay, in Sonnet 58, the word times is printed with a dot or point over the letter S. This point functions as a period, and the word can be read from right to left, spelling emit, meaning fiat. I found this by examining the word eclipses directly on the other side of the page, underscored by another dot. I covered this in the first video. Now, the word times means multiply, and to time something is to count it, like in a cadence. Eclipse means to obscure, take away, or subtract from something. These definitions are instructions on how to unlock certain numbers and information in the sonnets. Gematria is the Kabbalistic method of assigning numerical values to letters, and when it's applied using the Latin alphabet, reveals names of the people involved. Also, I believe specific sonnet numbers were chosen because of their relationship to these people. Alexander Waugh's theory is Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, who was Shakespeare, persuaded Henry Wriothesley, the 3rd Earl of Southampton, and Penelope Rich to have a child for him. A son was born and raised as Henry de Vere, the 18th Earl of Oxford, and evidence of this is found encoded throughout the sonnets. In his videos, Waugh explains how the numbers 17 and 40 pertain to Edward de Vere, and recently he posted one called John Dee's Secret Patron Revealed, where he thoroughly explains the concept of the fourth T. Since you're probably already familiar with all this, I'm just going to continue. An example of 1740 can be found by counting from the first page where the sonnets begin. Sonnet 40 appears on the 17th page. The number for Sonnet 40 is exactly 17 lines from the top and 17 lines from the bottom, so 3 times on this page we have a reference to 1740. But I think another number used to indicate Edward de Vere is 12, derived simply by adding the number of letters in his name. Edward 6, Des 2, and Vere's 4. Also, there's 12 letters in Earl of Oxford. If we add the numbers for 1740, 1 plus 7 plus 4 plus 0 equals 12. Interestingly, de Vere is said to have died on Midsummer's Day, which is June 24th, or 624, equaling 12. Like the number 40, the number 12 recurs throughout the Bible. There were 12 tribes of Israel, and Jesus had 12 apostles, and there's 12 gates of the New Jerusalem in the book of Revelation, symbolizing completeness. Of course, there's 12 months in a year and 12 signs of the zodiac. In Greek myth, there's 12 Olympians preceded by 12 Titans, and Hercules carries out 12 labors. 1 plus 2 equals 3 for the Trinity, and I read somewhere that 12 symbolizes God's will. De Vere could have also identified himself with this number. So the numbers 1740 and I believe the number 12 are used throughout the sonnets as references to him. The dedication in the sonnets is in a 12-line pattern of 3 inverted triangles, and the triangles are comprised of 6, 2, and 4 lines. When deciphered, it reads, these sonnets are by Ever the fourth T. Ever is an anagram, or in Kabbalah, Tamara for Vere, and the word ever appears in the verse exactly 12 times. The sonnets that begin with a W are printed in different ways. Sometimes they're just regular W's, and a couple times they're W's but with an italicized font. And then there's the ones printed with 2 V's. Although this was an uncommon practice for the day, the double V printing of VV appears in the sonnets exactly 17 times. 14 at the beginning of some sonnets, and 3 others where the double V is printed within the verse, in sonnets 39, 57, and 150. In Latin Gematria, V is equal to 20, and 2 V's or double V's are equal to 40. So 17 sonnets with 2 V's equals 1740. If we add all the double V's together, there's 19 of them. In Latin Gematria, T or tau is the 19th letter, and this is the number that unlocks the dedication, demonstrated by Waugh in his videos Where is Shakespeare Really Buried? Although there's 19 double V's total, they appear in 17 sonnets. Looking at the 3 sonnets where the double V's are printed not at the beginning but within the verse, the V's appear on some interesting line numbers. A single double V is printed on the 12th line. 12 is the number of letters in the name Edward de Vere. It's put in Sonnet 39 because if we use the counting instruction from the word time, we can count 3 plus 9 for a total of 12. In Sonnet 57, double V is printed on lines 8 and 10. Again, we count 8 plus 10 equals 18 for Henry de Vere, the 18th Earl of Oxford, the ascending rose. They're in Sonnet 57 because 57 equals 17 plus 40, or 1740, but also 5 plus 7 equals 12. In Gematria, Henry equals 57, and there's 12 letters in Earl of Oxford. The 58 at the turnover is an allusion to the golden ratio, and 5 times 8 equal 40. In Sonnet 150, double V is printed on lines 2 and 12. 2 refers to a double, which I covered in the previous video. 12 again is the number of letters in the name Edward de Vere. But what does the number 150 have to do with them? Here Gematria is used. Vere is equal to 47, and Shakespeare is equal to 103. 47 plus 103 equals 150. So the last sonnet number printed with double V's appears on line 2, indicating a double, and another on line 12, a number reference for de Vere. Shakespeare was his double, and using Gematria, their names equal this sonnet number. Continuing with Gematria, some other names and numbers turn up. For example, the word rose, the first italicized word in the sonnets, rose is equal to 54. Reading Sonnet 54, it's about external beauty and virtue, but cankerbloom suggests something that appears to be beautiful but lacks the other quality. It's printed with sweet roses beginning at a halfway point in the line. According to Peter Amundsen, the word sweet can be reversed spelling theos. 2 of the letters can be changed out for Greek. The small w is an O for omega, and one of the E stands for eta, or H. This spells theos, or God, followed by the word roses. It's on the same page where Venus and Adonis, Shakespeare's rose-cheeked god, are in italics. Wall explains that in the poem of the same title, Adonis is Henry Wriothesley, and it seems that whoever encoded this is trying to tell us something about the 3rd Earl of Southampton, or something he did. Between the rose and the cankerblooms is a 1740. The word rich equals 37. This is also in the previous video. And the 5th line of Sonnet 37 is the word wealth. Wealth means rich and is exactly 17 words from fortune, meaning 1740. Fortune appears with a capital F like it's a name only twice in the sonnets. Wealth could be for Penelope rich, but the name Edward from the word Ead also means wealth, fortune, or rich. Weird means guard, so Edward means rich guard. Ead also means prosperous, so Edward could have inspired the name Prospero in The Tempest. The other time fortune is spelled with a capital F is in Sonnet 29. E is equal to 5, D is equal to 4, and B is equal to 20, the initials for Edward de Vere, equaling 29. Begins with a double V, and then exactly 17 letters later is the word fortune, again 1740. After the double V, the line reads, Hen in disgrace with fortune. Hen is another name for Penelope, so the line saying, Penelope in disgrace with 40, or 1740. Using the definition for the word times, 29 can also be read as 2 times 9 equaling 18, maybe an allusion to the 18th Earl. Another sonnet of interest is 63. 63 reversed is 36, which I'm getting to, but Sonnet 63 has a single bracket where it shouldn't be, drawing our attention to the line. It reads, His beauty shall in these black lines be seen. Black lines is about beauty being preserved in verse, but the concealed meaning is Rosalie's beauty being seen in this child whose lineage is in question. Using the definitions from times and eclipses, or multiply and subtract, 6 times 3 is 18 for 18th Earl of Oxford, and 6 minus 3 is 3 for 3rd Earl of Southampton. Using Gematria, the mother's name is also encoded. Hen or Penelope equals 26, and rich equals 37. Added together is 63. Sonnet 64 begins with a large printing of double V spelling the word win. Below this is the word rich, so in this group are double V, Hen, and rich for de Vere and Penelope Rich. Unfortunately, the scan isn't that clear, but some of the letters throughout the verse are heavily inked. Starting with the 9th line, the letters W, I, O, R, and T stand out. To abbreviate longer names, the first 5 letters are used, and here we have the letters W, R, I, O, T for Rosalie. There's also 3 T's or a triple tau heavily inked in an inverted triangle. Now I don't know if this is anything, but the letters in orange spell Wiawaka, which is Algonquin for the great spirit of woman. This word could have been learned from Thomas Harriot, who traveled to the New World in the 1580s and had learned the Algonquin language. Harriot was from Oxfordshire, studied with John Dee, and influenced Francis Bacon. In the verse, the poet is losing his love to time. With the double V, the words hen and rich, and the abbreviation for Rosalie, perhaps Wiawaka, the great spirit of woman, means rich is taking Rosalie away from de Vere. Again, the proposed story behind the sonnets is, Rich was once de Vere's mistress, but beyond his persuading them to have a child for him, Rich and Rosalie became involved with each other, so maybe De Vere felt he was losing Rosely, possibly blaming Penelope Rich. The heavy ink on these letters could be unintentional, but using Gematria, the value of the letters for W-R-I-O-T is 79, and that brings us to one of only two sonnets that begin with an italicized W. The sonnet may be addressing what's going on in the love triangle between De Vere, Rich, and Rosely. It's the second of the rival poets sonnets, following Sonnet 78 directly above, which has the italicized word alien next to the word pen. Alien pen is a reference to Rosely being the other man involved in the situation, the father of the rose told in the story of the italicized words. The only other sonnet beginning with an italicized W is 138. The speaker of the sonnet is older and he knows his lover's lying to him. He says, "She might think me some untutored youth." Again, this may be biographical, telling us what's going on with the three of them. If we add up their names, we get the sonnet number. Vere is equal to 47, Rich is equal to 37, Rose is equal to 54, equaling 138. And if we add 1 plus 3 plus 8, we get the number 12. The only W printed with this font, which is composed of one disconnected V slightly lower than the other, is Sonnet 84. Though it's in a completely different font than the other double V's, this might be an 18th double V symbolizing the 18th Earl of Oxford. The speaker is criticizing the rival poet and the fair use need for praise. The word rich is used and the word pen is capitalized this time as if it were a name short for Penelope. The line could be De Vere calling her greedy, that she's taken Rosely from him. He did, however, get a child out of it, hence the possible 18th double V beginning the sonnet. Vere is equal to 47 and Rich is equal to 37, totaling 84, and 8 plus 4 equals 12. I think the 17 sonnets printed with double V's were chosen because their number value somehow is related to Edward de Vere. Sonnet 2 indicates a double, Shakespeare being a double for De Vere. Sonnet 12, there's 12 letters in his name. Sonnet 17, he's the 17th Earl of Oxford. Sonnet 29, E is equal to 5, D is equal to 4, and B is equal to 20. Sonnet 53, the abbreviation for Edward is EDWD, which is equal to 33. Add a V, which is equal to 20, you get 53. Sonnet 76, Oxford and Gematria is equal to 76, and T is equal to 19. 4 T's is equal to 76. Sonnet 88, the 8th letter is an H, and an H is composed of 2 T's on their sides. So 2 8s or 2 H's are made up of 4 T's, 4th T. Sonnet 100, again the abbreviation for Edward is 33, and then double V E R E for De Vere. V is equal to 20, and then Vere is equal to 47 for a total of 67. So Edward plus double V Vere is equal to 100, and Sonnet 150, Vere is equal to 47, Shakespeare is equal to 103, equaling 150. Honestly, I don't have all these figured out, and some really are just guesses, but I believe the numbers have significance. Sonnet 36 is interesting because, looking at the way it's printed, the 6 has an extra line along its side, and if it was flipped would be a 9. Sonnets 36 and 39 are reflections of each other, the speaker and his love having to live separate lives in order to avoid shame and embarrassment. Sonnet 39 has a similar message. This 6-9 character hidden in 36, and the numbers written in the sonnet, also provide a date. The 6 and 9 are combined, making the sign for Cancer, which begins in June, the 6th month. Then there's the words 2, twain, 1, 2, and 1. Twain means 2, and when something's divided in twain, it's split in 2. So we begin with 2, followed by twain, which is a split or dividing line. The next words are 1, 2, and 1, adding up to 4. So we have the 6-9 symbol for Cancer, the 6th month, just above the word 2, then twain, or a dividing line, then 1, 2, and 1, equaling 4, giving us 6, 2, 4, the number of letters that make up Edward de Vere's name, as well as the date of his death, June 24th. Other numbers can be derived as well. 36, or 3 times 6, is 18, and the difference between 3 and 6 is 3. So from the way this character is designed and the numerical words in the verse, we get the number of letters in de Vere's name, his date of death, and the numbers 18 for Henry de Vere, the 18th Earl of Oxford, and 3 for Henry Wriothesley, the 3rd Earl of Southampton. As far as the meaning of the verse, though, is this de Vere speaking to Wriothesley about their relationship? Or is this Wriothesley speaking to Henry de Vere, not as a lover, but as a father who is unable to acknowledge his son, else shame and embarrassment be brought upon them? Again, 36 reversed to 63, and it's in Sonnet 63 we get, "His beauty shall in these black lines be seen," denoted by a single bracket that shouldn't be there, other than to draw attention to what it's saying. Sonnets 36 and 39 are reflections, and when we look at Sonnet 39, there's a single double V 12 lines from where it begins. Below it, passing right through Sonnet 40, are 18 lines of verse. Is this indicating Henry de Vere, the 18th Earl of Oxford? Something else I want to address is in the first folio. It's from The Merry Wives of Windsor and the Comedies. If you flip through the pages from where the play begins, you'll count 11. But just before the first page, you'll notice that the last page of The Two Gentlemen of Verona is titled The Merry Wives of Windsor, so there's actually 12 pages with that title. Again, 12 is the number of letters in Edward de Vere. It's in The Merry Wives of Windsor that the pages begin to get misnumbered. The first one is page 50, printed as 58. 5-8 is the golden ratio, but also 5 times 8 equals 40. On page 57, there's a double V in the second column. Count 17 lines and we get the word 4T. Again, 57 is 17 plus 40, but also 5 plus 7 equals 12. Page 59 is misnumbered as 51. Line 33 of the second column begins with a double V. Count 17 lines and we get Ford, I, and an ox 2. The letter I and the Roman numeral 1 are the same character and interchangeable. If you count all the I's on the page, the 17th one is here. So on the 17th line, there's the word Ford next to the 17th I, followed by the words, and an ox, ox being capitalized like a name. Put Ford and an ox together on the 17th line next to the 17th I or 1, and it spells out 17 ox Ford. Count 12 more lines and there's another double V. From the first to the second are 29 lines total, and with Gematria, EDV equals 29. Now the first double V begins on line 33, which equals the abbreviation for Edward, but so does Bacon, and I wonder if the line I in an ox 2 is Francis Bacon telling us that he had something to do with this. References to his name, Oxford's, and the Rosicrucians are found all throughout the first folio. In the sonnets, the first de Vere reference is in Sonnet 2, but if we draw a right triangle, a Masonic symbol, around the letters of the opening sonnet, we get the letters FRB. Also, the R above the T could stand for Rosy Cross. As far as I know, this is the earliest illustration of Shakespeare's gravestone. It's from Samuel Ireland's Picturesque Views on the Upper or Warwickshire Avon, published in 1795. The lettering, like in the word here, capital H-E-R lowercase e, is actually a biliteral cipher invented by Francis Bacon. When deciphered, we get these letters. I color-coded them so you can see what letters apply to what words. The light and dark double A's of Apollo and Athena appear in the headpiece over the first sonnet and in the first folio. Now, is this a valid cipher? You can decide. But something interesting I found was in a book called Francis Bacon and His Secret Society. The author refers to the Bhagavad Gita as the Bhagavad Yeta, spelled Y-E-T-A. Gita in Sanskrit means song or singing or praise and song. In the center of the decrypted gravestone message is Yeta, Y-E-T-A. Is this message praising Francis Bacon as a Shakespeare writer? If so, notice that it says a Shakespeare writer, not the Shakespeare writer. I think it's possible there was a group, call them a secret society or whatever, that included people like John Dee, Oxford, and Bacon. They shared enlightened ideas, de Vere wrote his plays and sonnets, and after he died, his unfinished works were completed by other writers, including Francis Bacon, who'd become like an overseer of the Shakespeare project. This would explain why he's sometimes identified as the author, and also why he and the Rosy Cross fraternity are referred to and encoded in the sonnets in first folio. There's one more example of Gematria that I believe lets us know Oxford was Shakespeare and wrote the sonnets. There's 154 of them. If you add up Edward, Vere, 17 Earl, you get 154. Anyone familiar with Alexander Wa's videos knows that when the dedication is drawn into a 19-grid pattern, an incredible amount of information is revealed. In line 12, there's 3 T's or a triple tau, and above it are the letters E-N-P-I-E. I unscrambled this and found épine, the French word for thorn. Symbolically, a thorn represents sin or flawed mortality. Jesus' crown was made of thorns, but the flower most commonly associated with thorns is the rose.